That's one thing I need to get better at doing is just that awareness of the other people in my lobby. Like,
Hmm.
seems like when I watch your YouTube videos,
Hmm.
I watch a lot of your YouTube videos, not necessarily your Twitch videos
Hmm.
because I don't necessarily am up at those times.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have very innate awareness of the other people in the lobby, and you're very good at judging their strength, but also like when they're doing other things.
Hmm.
Whereas I don't think I'm as like comfortable yet with like knowing what I'm doing. So like me being able to tell what other people are doing is kind of a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean that's exactly what you're talking about. Like the more comfortable you are, like, if you're playing a comp, like, you played Anima Squad this game. I don't know how comfortable you are playing Anima Squad and like knowing what units to put in and that kind of stuff. But like, your first game ever playing Anima Squad, it's gonna be really hard for you to scout around and see what everyone else is doing because you're like, okay, what unit do I put in here? What items do I build? All this kind of stuff. Versus, like your 100th time playing Anima Squad, you're like, okay, I know, I'm gonna play MF, Jinx. I'm gonna get in like pranksters. I'm gonna get in brawlers. Maybe I'm gonna build these items. Um, and then like it's a lot easier to scout around when it's almost like you can sort of like autopilot your comp because you're so comfortable with it. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, can you see my screen?
Wait, let me see. I think I'm
Mm,
gonna stop streaming. Oh, there you are. Yep, perfect.
okay, cool.
I'm watching you right
Um,
now.
so yeah, let's go into it. So yeah, I mean the first few shops, I think this is fine. It can actually like the first few shops can matter a good bit, but I don't disagree with anything you did here. I see the Sona. I'd be like, oh my god, you can maybe do underground this game, but I don't think we even saw an underground unit for a while, so that's life.
Hmm.
Doesn't have to be. Also, I don't know how comfortable you are playing underground, but it can be a really good way to just like straight up win games, but it can also be a great way to lose games if you get down to 10 HP and then don't have time to roll all your gold or build all your items, then you just die. I saw, oh god, there was a game. Speaking of that exact same uh, tournament in China, I was watching. There was someone who played underground reroll, but they didn't have any underground. Like they didn't have S carry augment, they didn't have I carry augment, and they just like ended up getting a quick cash out. Weren't able to slam all their items, and they just straight up lost the game. And that's literally
Oh,
like,
getting dizzy.
yeah, yeah.
Oh no.
And that's like literally someone who's like playing in like a super super high elo tournament in China, which is like the best TFT region. And so I don't know, when stuff like that happens, it always makes me feel a little bit better. Like okay, even the top players like they get dizzy sometimes. Um, Small
Yeah.
thing here, which actually ends up being a bigger thing. Just hold the Nasus, just like buy it. There's no reason not
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah.
you end up
You're
taking.
right.
I didn't even think about this, but I was like, oh, he should like hold the Nasus because like there's no reason not to. But you end up taking Nasus hero augments. You could have had a Nasus too a lot earlier. But
Hmm.
yeah, so like in situations like this, just always buy out your shop because there's no harm to doing it basically. And like imagine your first augment is I mean literally Soul Eater or even like I don't know. I'm pretty sure the Nasus carry augment still not very good, but could maybe be that as well. Okay, so it's 1-1-1. Ideally you have like a picture in your mind of like all of the one cost hero augments and the ones that are broken because now with 4 rerolls you get to see so many. You end up just taking Soul Eater, which I think is fine. I mean it's one of the stronger ones. You don't really have like an opener that like, makes you want to play Soul Eater that much, but like I mean I guess the alternative could be you could like roll for like Ash support augment and play like a because you have 2 ashes already. But like I think Soul Eater here is fine. You could also go like Righteous Range and play something. But yeah, I mean Soul Eater is a very strong augment. So I think it's fine to take that, especially if you're like more comfy with it. Um, but yeah, like if you had taken that Nasus earlier, boom, Nasus 2 right here. Um, and okay, so yeah, we sell some stuff, end up leveling to put the Nasus in, of course. This is one thing that I'll immediately point out, and I think it ends up happening another time in the game. But like this Renekton here, um, like I think you have this Renekton on board because you're thinking of playing Laser Core. But you don't actually have Laser Core in right now, so the Renekton's like a synergy-less unit. Like you could just play like double Nasus and those Nasuses will be benefiting from Mascot, so it'll be stronger than just playing the Renekton here.
Mm.
And there's something that you do later on. You have like 2 Anima Squad in, and like I think your idea is that like okay, eventually I want to get to be like playing 3 Laser Core, but like right now until you have 3 Laser Core, it's not like there's no actual reason to play this Renekton. Like if it was Renekton 2, you could play it, but like as just Renekton 1, it's not actually better than just the Nasus one that's sitting on your bench. And then you could slam like Ionic Spark on like Galio, and then eventually when you get Laser Core, you can put Laser Core in, and then even if And like if you get stuck on Galio and forever, you can move items to Renekton. But yeah, something to keep in mind because like um, a very big concept in TFT is just playing your strongest board at ideally, unless you're like trying to lose streak at like every moment. And you know, you have an Ash 2, you have a good item slam, you have a really strong early augment. Like this could be a decent win streak, especially if you like if you had the Nasus 2 or if you're like hit really hard. You know, like if this shop has like 2 Gallios in it or something, we could maybe win streak the entire stage. Or, you know, like you hit
Yeah.
connecting 2 plus a laser core or something. And so like the concept of playing your strongest board, especially at your elo, is really important because like people in Diamond are just not playing the best boards that they can all the time. Like they'll just play weirdly. Oh, also, I didn't see it this early, but he literally has 6 Siluses right now. I don't know if
Holy shit,
I don't know if that was
dude.
like just insane shop RNG or if they actually rolled at level 3, but that's uh that's nuts. Okay. So I guess that was
Yeah, if
their
you got like
indication.
Baneslayer or something like the Mana Chains
Yeah, yeah,
or the
yeah.
Petrus Chains or something,
Petricite
that would have been
chains, yeah.
insane.
Yeah, definitely. Um But yeah, like you end up fighting this person, and like it doesn't end up being that close. They have BP2 and they also have Laser Core, and it's like you're probably always losing this. But like, you know, some things go slightly differently. Maybe there's a world where you can win this in like win streak.
Mhm.
So yeah, just like always be playing your strong board. Oh, and I mean, Malphite's actually they buffed Malphite this patch, so he's a little bit better actually. But I would hold this Malphite, just
Okay.
because it's another mascot. I don't think it's necessarily stronger than Galio here, but like with this Malphite here, maybe your next shop. I mean, your next shop does have Alistar in it. I mean, you're not really going to double level and play 4 Mascot, but it's, once again, just, like, the chance you play this Lulu is pretty much 0. It's a higher chance you'd, like, play the Malphite, I would say, um,
Mhm.
just because the Mascot opener. So just always be thinking about, like, what units you can be holding that can potentially, like, upgrade your board. Um, and, like, you know, in this situation, holding Lulu doesn't really do anything, whereas holding Malphite, like, maybe there's a world where, you know, you get him in. And I always think about, like, okay, what if I hold this Malphite here, my next shop has 2 Malphites in it? Then, like, okay, yeah, I am definitely playing Malphite then. Um, but yeah, okay. So yeah, you sell basically your whole bench. You end up winning this fight. I'm thinking of pre-leveling here, just like selling the Alistar and putting 4 gold into leveling up, and seeing your early shops, like your level 5 shops earlier. Um, you do end up playing the Alistar next level, so like, I mean, he's definitely a good unit to hold, but he's not um, like I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you could play here. Just like any duelist, like a Nyla would be good. Any like brawler, like a Ribbon would be good. Even any like recon unit or any other mascot unit. So I like pre-leveling here, especially if we had won 2-2. I would like always pre-level here just to um try to hit better shops and like continue my win streak. Um,
That makes sense. I
but
don't
yeah.
think of doing that often enough because it's kind of, yeah. I was looking more in the now at this point. I was
Hmm.
like, oh, I have a 3-star right now that I can, not 3-star, but a 3 cost
Cost.
right now that I can play.
Yeah. No, I mean that's definitely fair. I mean it's not too bad because that is like the next unit that you're gonna want to play. So yeah, I don't hate it. Okay, so we have open bow here. You end up going for tier here. Um, let's see. I imagine you're thinking towards like a misfortune item earlier, or what do you want to do with this tier?
Yeah, so I was thinking ahead for if I'm leaning towards an AP game, it's
Hmm.
pretty much a necessity that I have to have at least one tier somewhere, else I'm going to have a lot of trouble breaking in that top 4 spot.
Hmm.
And I know I didn't have anything I could slam on it right now, but I felt Laser Core at least is relatively healthy enough early game, especially with a MR shred item that like I'll be able to like greed items a little bit and either get that Spirit of Sojin item for like an MF or like a Talia carry or an Aurelion Soul carry, or I could even, I mean, depending on if I get like a bunch of, if I have good admins, I could and get another tier for a blue buff that I could lean towards that direction. But I just wanted one to kind of like help secure my like direction towards ability power.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable because we have the open bow, but yeah, there's not really much we want to build with bow here. Um, The only other option is like 3 cost chain vest there, which would be pretty good, because like you could build more. Like it's often nice. It's kind of like there's this sort of like struggle in the early game between like stacking items, like multiple items on the same unit is really good because they scale with each other. So like if you have this Ionic Spark on Renekton and then you also put like a Warmogs on him, then he will live longer, so the Ionic Spark will get more value. So like in some ways you want to stack this unit, but in other ways, you don't want to have like 3 tank items built here because like then what if on wolves you get like 2 more tank items? Then you're gonna be you're gonna have like way too many tank items and not enough damage items. So I think in this situation with nothing to slam, yeah, I think tier is fine. Um, so yeah, we get the Alistar in here, which is good. You end up holding, I think, Kaisa here over just holding Alistar pair. I think I'd hold Alistar pair here, even though like I don't love playing like you're probably not gonna play Alistar on your late game board. I mean, just hitting an Alistar too would definitely be nice. I would even hold it just like over this Ezreal because yeah, you end up holding recons here, which like if you just looked at your units and your items, I could maybe think about this being like a recon game, though you don't really want to slam Static Shiv for like Kaisa with Ionic Spark. Um, but like bow item, tier item, like definitely could lead towards Kaisa. It's just that like this augment I feel like is way too awkward to use in like a recon comp, especially when you have so few bots. So like this is something here where I think like we end up playing an anima squad comp. Like I think you can just sort of like this entire game be pretty committed towards hitting Anima Squad, unless you look at the lobby and see like there's 10 other people playing it. But there's only this guy really who could potentially
Yeah.
contest you. Like if you saw this guy and like 2 other people playing Soul Eater, then like okay, maybe you could think about having like a very solid plan B. But like in this situation, I don't think holding the recons actually does that much. There's another oh yeah, I think it's right here, right? We win this fight and you end up selling Nasus and holding on to the recons here. Like I think you're
Hmm.
like Plan A should definitely be Anima Squad from this spot. Like your
Gotcha.
your average placement, like playing Anima Squad from here versus playing Recon from here, I would say is a lot higher. And you can just sell the Ezreal here instead of the Nasus. And then once again, similar to the other Nasus thing, immediately we see a Nasus in our shop right after that. So like
Yeah.
maybe the copium it's the same Nasus. You wouldn't have seen another Nasus here, but like it could actually just have been Nasus 2 here, which would have been nice. Um,
Yeah, that's fair.
so yeah, like I don't know. I'm curious. Were you just thinking you wanted to have sort of like a plan B, holding on to these recons? Is that why you held on to them?
Yeah, a little bit. Also, I kind of wanted to see what items I had.
Hmm.
Because if this dropped, like let's say it dropped like rod sword, and uh, I had like a good recon shop following. No, yeah, recon shop following.
Hmm.
I could potentially like lean towards that and just deal with like an awkward Nasus until I was able to like get my recons polished off and then like level to 8 for me to have like 2 threat frontline or something like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I wasn't sure at this point how contested I was gonna be with like the other guy, so that's why I was kind of more hesitant, but I should have just leaned more into it. Normally like Krugs is where I really want to like decide the direction of my comp
Hmm.
and like whether or not it's feasible for me to like top or bottom 4 at this
Hmm.
point in time.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was able to at least with Krugs see that like, oh okay, I have a Sphere of Sojin and I could slam I can't remember what chain and tier make what the name of the item is, but it just
Protector's
got
vow.
buffed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Protector's Vow is pretty good, so I felt pretty confident that I'd be able to pull off like an Anima squad um, comp after seeing like those items and stuff. So I think I sold these like right after. I can't remember.
Yeah. I don't know if you. I don't know, do you sell them here? Because I would definitely sell
Maybe
them here. Like I think we're in a
did.
good spot. I think you're still like trying to play
Oh, I messed
flexibly
up.
around
Yeah.
them, but like yeah,
Hmm.
like it's let's see, how much gold do we have here? I mean, either way, you
It's
should
like
sell them. But
34 or
let's see,
something.
it's
Hmm.
5, 6, 7, 8. We would have had 9 before. Like if we had made Econ last round, we'd have +1 gold. So like we don't make Econ last round, and I think like if we win this fight, we could actually also make 40 gold here. Um, so
Hmm.
just I mean, sort of. I mean, it's not even really hindsight, but yeah, I think like at this point you can definitely like abandon this plan. Like there is such a thing as playing too flexibly.
Hmm.
Like I think it can be really good to just have like a solid game plan, and if there's not a reason to abandon it, like just stick with it. Um, so yeah, you have Shojin component, you have Protector's Vow components. Yeah, I don't know. I'm the biggest fan of Protector's Vow ever, so I feel fine slamming it, but I liked slamming it even before it was good, so like maybe I just slam it too much. But I think it's just like a solid item, and like you don't really like after you have Shojin, you don't really need tier items that much. You don't really need chain items that much. So yeah, I think it's a fine slam, especially on like a Renekton too. One thing though is like just a general concept if you want to play like perfect TFT. Like that last fight, you were gonna win every single time. You don't have to slam any items because they're level 4 playing 2 Silases. They don't have any synergies in. Yeah. So like if you want to slam Protector's Vow, you can always wait until after Augment. Like maybe your Augment is like item grab bag or something. Um, but yeah, and I think you do actually. You look at potentially semi in here and then decide that you don't need to, which is really really good.
Yeah.
Like that's a really nice like optimization because like you don't need to slam here, so you don't. So yeah, I think that's really good. Augments here, Jewel Lotus Sunfire, Ancient Archives. Yeah, you take Jewel Lotus here. I think Jewel Lotus is good. It can play towards a lot of stuff, but it would be really good in the Misfortune comp. Um, Sunfire board, like you have a Sunfire component, though. Like if you slam Protector's Vow, you won't. Like maybe, like I mean, I think this is fine as well. I would definitely pick Jewel Lotus, but I think Sunfire board's like not bad. And then Ancient Archives is like pretty risky. You could maybe I don't know. Yeah, it'd be hard to make an argument to take it here. I think getting Anima Squad
Yeah.
would be great, but a lot of other stuff would be really bad. Um, okay, so here's similar thing to the Renekton early level up here, which I think is perfect. But you play the Jinx and Slam items on her, which like I get the idea. You know, Jinx is a early item carry for Misfortune late game, but like once again, you know, you're 2 out of 3 Anima Squad. You're playing a unit for a synergy that you don't actually have in yet. What you could do here is just play Kaisa and slam the Shojin on her,
That's
and it's just
smart.
going to be
Yeah.
a stronger item holder here. And then also, even better, like you won't have to sell the Jinx later when you hit MF because you'll, you know, not be item holding her. So yeah, that's just something that you can do. Like it's the same thing. I think it's the same concept. I think you just need to be more aware of like situations when you're like playing a unit for a synergy that isn't actually like giving you the synergy. You're just playing it because
Yeah.
like you want to be playing that synergy later, but you're not actually playing it right now. Um, so yeah, this shop isn't much. So yeah, to here. Oh yeah, this. Oh no, you don't fight the AFK here. You fight this person. So like this is a situation where maybe you could send Protector's Vow. Like it looks like pretty tough fight, and like I don't know. Fernectin lives a little bit longer here. Actually, maybe we win this fight and keep our streak. I think it's pretty reasonable
Mhm.
that if you send Protector's Vow, you might win this fight. Like that's a situation, especially 5 streak. Like protecting your win streak here is a lot of gold. So
Okay.
I would just slam Protector's Vow here. I like that we didn't slam it up until now, but like I think here it actually could make a difference. Looking at how close this fight was, especially with like Soul Eater. Like if your Nasus or if your Renekton lives longer and then you get a kill, heals up like half his HP, like that could be a big difference. Um,
That makes sense.
yeah, I like how you held the whole, like you bought out those units in shop, even though like the chance of playing Viego is very low. But like here's another situation where like I don't know, I'm just someone who loves slamming items. I think like it just makes your I feel like it makes your game so much easier. Like, not only are you like building a stronger board and saving HP, but like also like if you had slammed Protector's Vow here, you can just go for like Giant Slayer component, and then all of your item components. You know, like it's very clean. You know, you have Protector's Vow slammed and you have Giant Slayer slammed. You have no open components. Now, when you do this, you're left in sort of an awkward situation where like you take this Giant Spell and make Sunfire, which is for sure a good item. But then you're left with this bow and this tier, which are sort of like awkward components to be left with. Like bow can only really be Giant Slayer, and tier you end up building Archangels with it, which is like, I mean, it was probably the best item that you could have built in this situation, but it's just not the best item. You know, like it's just a bad item in general. Like in an ideal
Yeah.
world, you
Yeah.
would never build this item just because of how it is. Strength wise compared to other items. I do think you should play Vayne here over Silas. I think maybe you were leaning towards having a frontline here, but like you have 3 frontline, 3 backline. If you play Vayne, I think it's fine. Like balancing frontline backline is important, but like yeah, I think you're completely fine playing Vayne here, getting Duelist in, and playing a stronger unit. Oh, also if we had won last fight, um, I feel fine leveling here at 3-5, and like trying to push for streak and just playing like anything, maybe even rolling. But since we're not on
Okay.
a win streak, I don't like it doesn't make any sense to do that. But like if we were on like a 6 streak there, like yeah, this game could actually just be like kind of over if you have, you know, like a 7 streak at this point, which is pretty realistic. Oh yeah, and look at this, the guy who ended up with the insanely capped board was just win streaking literally the entire game, so makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you hit the early MF here, which is very fortunate. Don't see another MF for a long time, but I mean, just hitting the first MF is very nice. I would hold Wukong Rel here, just because maybe they could come in with Riven later. Um, you hit another Jinx here. I don't remember if you hold the Zoe actually, but I would definitely look at holding this Zoe just because you end up playing the Zoe later. Having Prankster is really good, and I would also hold Nyla. Like she could just be a solid unit to play. Um, yeah, you end up with Jinx pair here, but yeah, you don't hold the second or not Jinx pair, Zoe pair. Like we could be close to having Zoe too. There's also another Nyla in shop, so like we could be close to Nyla too as well. Like things like this, like holding those kind of units that can just be good on the board. Like imagine you hit Nyla 2 and then you can sell Renekton and put Ionic Spark, Sunfire on like a Nyla 2. Like your board is way stronger. And then you don't even have to roll very much. Um,
Yeah.
like you just already have all your units. So yeah. Awkward, semi-awkward situation with items here. You play the Zoe, which is correct. Um, crack Tome immediately, which I think is fine. If you had held the Cho'Gath is another unit that you could have held in last jump. You could try to get Cho'Gath in, wait 1 round because that will be like another synergy in for like tailoring your traits. But you already have a ton of traits in. I think it's fine to crack this now. And you hit Prankster, which is good. So if it works, then it was always the correct decision. But yeah,
I do
like
have a quick question.
yeah,
How
yeah.
does the tailoring thing work? I
Oh yeah.
can't exactly remember the rules. I know it's like a certain number of traits that you have. It gives you a certain number of like tailored augments.
I got this bookmarked here. I'll send it to you, and I can pull it
Oh
over
shit.
onto my screen share. But yeah, it's a certain number of tailored. So it's based on how many traits you have, and it counts the gray traits as well. So that's important. So like right now, technically, well, not technically, really, you have 10 in. Um,
Mhm.
so what that means is 10 or 11 traits means you get 3 tailored emblems and 1 random emblem. So you're gonna get 3 emblems from this list. So if you look back, we had Renegade in, we had Prankster in, and we had Ace in. So we got these are your 3 tailored, and then Sure Shot is just random. Um, so that's how it works. And then the other big thing to consider is that traits that don't have emblems count. So an easy example is Threat. There's no Threat emblem in the game because it doesn't do anything. So if you have a Cho'Gath in here, it can count towards increasing your traits and giving you more tailored emblems. Um, but it doesn't actually like show up in the tailored emblems, so you can actually use it to sort of like guarantee emblems better. There's a tool because you said you use Meta TFT. I think it's under tools. Yeah, there's a Tome of Traits tool that shows you units that are good. Um, like all of these units obviously are threats. The other one is supers. There's no supers, spat. Um,
Oh, gotcha.
yeah. Also, this is like pretty niche, but like Aphelios, Arsenal, Janna, like Forecaster, those don't count. It's been more like I guess like more important in other sets where there's like even more non-spat traits. This one there's not that many, but like threat is definitely one that you can get in. But yeah, I guess yeah, these are the 5: threat, supers, forecaster, arsenal, corrupted. So like if you have threat plus supers in, and then like 6 other traits, then you're getting the benefit for having 8 in, so you'll get 2 tailored emblems, but those 2 tailored are going to come from the pool of 6 that aren't threat or supers, if that makes sense.
That
Um,
makes sense. Gotcha.
so
Thank you.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, I literally had the bookmark because I don't always remember the break points because yeah, um it starts at 6 is how many you need in to get any tailor because if you have less than 6, then it's all random. Um, so yeah. Um, so yeah, in this situation you get, but like I don't know, you could actually it's like pretty reasonable that you low roll and hit some garbage here. Like if your options are like hacker, renegade, duelist, it's pretty bad. But like I mean, I would say getting prankster here is very fortunate because your best hit here is anima squad, and after that it's prankster, and then like after that like maybe brawler's okay, I guess. Um, but yeah. Once again, we can just hold the Nyla here, because like Nyla 2 would actually be pretty strong on our board. Also, this is where like situations like this is like I don't know, ELO is so like you have to play relative to your ELO in TFT. Like this is a situation like looking at your board where I might roll a bit to get to a stronger board here. But you don't actually get punished at all for like not rolling, so it's fine. It's just like the higher you climb, you may have to roll in situations like these, because like your board is basically 2-star Renekton, 2-star Nasus, and then everything else is 1-star. Um,
Mm.
you have good item slams at least. Oh yeah, and the other thing I want to talk about is Archangel Slam here is like, I mean, it's not ideal, but like I don't really want to sit here with 4 components, so I think it's fine. I would begrudgingly do this. I think I would uh it would cause me more pain than I feel like it caused you here. I feel like you just slammed it immediately and you're like, okay, all good, which like I mean it ends up being correct, I think. But I would like try to slam anything else, but like you definitely don't want to slam static. You don't want to slam Guinsu. If you didn't have Shojin, RFC is actually not the worst. As like a it's like sort of a mana generation item because like more attack speed generates you more mana. But you already have Shojin, so you don't really want to go like double mana generation. So yeah. Okay. Augment
That
here.
makes sense.
So you can do this on Meta TFT. I have been using tactics.tools more recently just because like I feel like sometimes Meta TFT like goes down, but I can show you how to do it on both actually. Um, but something really nice that I've been doing. So like the way to do it on tactics.tools is you go to comps up here. These are all the comps. This is the comp that we were playing, Anima Squad. Go to augments and you can go at 4-2 and look up and see the win rate of any augment here. Um,
Oh, okay.
so this is really helpful when you don't know exactly like, okay, is Axiom Arc like actually good in this comp when taken at 4-2? Yeah, it's actually really strong, 3.98 average placement. Um, if you want to do similar thing on Meta TFT, same thing, just go to the Anima Squad, go to augments, and they might have different data. I'm curious what they think Axiom Arc is, but you'll have to go to third augment here, 4.13. So yeah, similar data. It says it's pretty good. Um, so you can look up like Axiom Arc. So what I did here is while you're doing this, I looked up Axiom Arc, I looked up Second Wind. Second Wind 4.05, so about the same actually. And then the other one is threat level maximum, which I don't think there's a justification to ever take here. Um, so yeah, your options are Axiom Arc, Second Wind, or you could reroll here, but I think these are good enough that you shouldn't reroll. Okay. Once you have that information, you can't just say, okay, what has a higher average placement? I'll take that. You need to say, okay, what makes sense from my position here with like the units that I'm playing? Big thing is like what other augments do I have or what item slams do I have? Like how do those interact with these augments? So I think here, I'll give you my justification. I think the pick is Axiom Arc here, especially because you have Soul Eater here. So like Axiom Arc is going to allow Misfortune to cast more, and with Jeweled Lotus, like the more casts, just the more damage she's doing. It's going to allow her to cast more and get those kills to heal up your entire team. If you can get more kills, you're actually going to be like healing a ton. So like second win is going to sort of like give you that sort of like guaranteed healing every round. But like if you can get multiple kills, you're still going to basically get the healing, but then you're also going to get like the MF resets and be able to actually kill the enemy team. So I think the pick here is like Axiom Arc because of that. Like it actually synergizes very well with this Nasus Hero augment and even with Jeweled Lotus. Um, so yeah, you end up taking second win here, which I don't think is it's definitely not bad. Like you look at the stats and it's fine. But I do think Axiom Arc would like in a lot of situations sort of like cause your MF to get like a couple of kills, heal your frontline up, and then get sort of like the reset, and then like heal your team up the rest of the way, and you can end up winning a fight that way. Um, so yeah, I think it would be better here, but like yeah, I don't think second win's bad, but I do think you should do the thing if you're ever like not sure, like okay, does Axiom Arc suck here? Like, is it playable at all? Just look at the augment win rates in that specific comp, and you can tell immediately like how good the augments are. Because like augments aren't balanced in TFT. And like you can always reason and say like, okay, Axiom Arc versus Second Wind, whatever. Like which one makes more sense? But like imagine Axiom Arc gave like 15 mana on kill or something. You wouldn't really be able to like tell. I guess like maybe if you're really good, you'd be able to say like, okay, 15 mana, that just doesn't really like pass the check in my head of like being a strong augment. I just won't take that. But like if you checked win rates and so okay, Axiom Arc at 15 mana like sucks in this comp because it's just a weak augment, then you could just say like, okay, I'll never take it. But like in this situation where it looks like they're both reasonably balanced with each other, then you can think deeper and say, okay, which one makes more sense from my specific situation?
Gotcha. I only knew how to search it up like generically
Hmm.
on Meta TFT. I didn't know you could do it specific to that comp, which makes
Yeah,
a ton of sense.
yeah, no, it's very very helpful. And like if you want to, like, there's other ways you can dive deeper with it's specifically tactics.tools. Meta TFT doesn't have actually as good tools, but with the Explorer that they have on tactics.tools. So like if you want to just say for any Talia comp, you can use this thing called Explorer, look up Talia, and then go to Augments, and you can look up like Axiom Arc. Whenever you're playing Talia, it has like overall pretty good placement, better last. Like you can use stuff like this. Like it sometimes doesn't have perfect data because like if you want to get really specific, like if you look up like illuminating singularity Lux's carry augment and then you go to augments, it actually does have data, and like obviously axiom arc is very good here. If you want to look up illuminating singularity plus, I don't know, Jewel Lotus, maybe it wouldn't have data for that. Yeah, like once you get like really deep, it doesn't always have data, but like you can compare with specific hero augments, specific units. That kind of stuff I think is quite helpful, especially like the less you can play the game, the more important I think that stuff is. Because like, if this is your first um time, like playing Anima Squad and being offered Axiom Arc, like being able to have that information before you pick your augment, I think is really helpful, as opposed to like having to try it out yourself in the game. Um,
Makes
but
sense.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is our board. It's all right. Okay. I really like the ZZ Rot take here. We need to get rid of these bows, and this is also a 5 cost that we get, which is really nice. So yeah, I really like taking the Jana with Giant Spell here. And you check whether it's actually windy, so you could even like play the Jana for a bit. I also do think, so you end up, I think you don't level here, but you end up leveling like into the fight, just to like pre-level for the next round. Which, I mean, I guess I like that more than not leveling at all. But like, I do think, especially like in this situation, I think like greeting not rolling at all at 4-1 ends up working out really well. You have enough HP and your board's good enough. But like, you compare your board to like this person's board, like we need to level here and like start rolling immediately, and getting to a
Yeah.
stronger board. Yeah, you can either roll on like 4-1 and try to like stabilize your board enough if you're like afraid of dying. Or if you want to greed, you either greed until 4-5 or like at greediest 5-1 after the Aurelian Doom. I think like rolling here just makes a ton of sense. Like, I don't know, we just need to spend our gold. Basically, our board is not upgraded enough to actually be stable in this lobby here. Like, we fight this person, and we take, I don't know how much damage, 14 damage. And like,
Yeah.
a lot of the rest of the fights are going to go this way if we don't start rolling. And so I think you realize that here. I don't know, maybe you were like, I don't know, thinking about something else at the moment, so you didn't have time to roll or something like that. But I do think, yeah, you have to roll at this point for a stronger board. The nice thing is we have this HP cushion, so you aren't like dead immediately here. Um, but yeah, I also do think immediately here once we hit Cho'Gath 2, I think it's already better than Sejuani probably. Like it's brawler, but I don't know. Like Cho'Gath 2 is just a much stronger unit than Sejuani. I think you overvalue synergies a little bit here. Where like, a Cho'Gath 2 is a Cho'Gath 2. He's just you want to have this unit on your board when you hit it. And then like once you hit Sejuani 2, you can swap him out. Um but yeah, like Cho 2, especially because it's only even like Riven 1. Like if it was Riven 2, which it ends up being later, maybe you can make the argument that Sedge for Brawler is better, but like right now, I'd say Cho 2, definitely better. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah. Small thing here, like you end up holding this Nasus pair on your bench, which means that these orbs end up just exploding into gold instead of turning into units. Um, like you can just sell the Nasus here, and like you want to have open slots on your bench so that these orbs don't explode into gold. Because this could just be like a 3-cost unit. Like this could just be a Riven in this orb, but it just turns into gold because your bench is completely full. So it has to turn into gold. Similar thing here. This is like 6 gold or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's 2 3 costs. Like you could have a Ribbon there. You could have, I guess Ribbon's the only one you'd really care about, like Veins as well. So yeah, just like keeping your bench at least a few slots open in situations like this is important. Um,
Makes sense.
yeah, swapping items over to Cho here. I think they're
I
stronger on Rammus. Yeah. What's your
I
just?
was just curious because it seemed to be predominantly an AP lobby, and I know
Mhm.
Cho, in theory, with his innate magic resistance, he's geared a little bit more towards that,
Mhm.
like being stronger towards that, which is why I switched it. I know he doesn't have like the crowd control that Rammus does, but he has an okay. I mean his ability is kind of underwhelming because it takes him forever to scan, but
Yeah.
if properly positioned, it could be. Yeah, I just it was purely in the moment where I was just like AP greater than or magic resist greater than armor at that point.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a pretty good thing to be thinking about. My main thought is that, especially with these items, like if your items were like, I don't know, Warmog's gargoyles, I think that's actually like probably correct. The thing with like Sunfire Ionic, like what Rammus will do with these items, these two items specifically, actually, and you have both of them here, is that like he's gonna ult into the largest clump. And so like not only is he going to sort of like deliver the healing reduction and the Ionic Spark of these to like the biggest clump of units, but he's also gonna potentially hit like backline sometimes. Like in a situation like this, Cho is, hitting Ionic Spark and Sunfire on these 3 units. If this is Rammus here, he's doing the same thing, but when he ults, he's gonna like reposition, say, to the middle here, and then like apply Sunfire and Ionic to these units. There's actually something that it's not as important in this comp because MF hits like basically the entire board. But most like whenever you're playing AP, you ideally want your Ionic Spark to be in front of whatever units like your carry is gonna hit. It matters more with something like Soraka, where she's always gonna hit the unit in front of her. So you usually want Ionic like right in front of her. Like you see in this situation, like Ionic Spark actually hasn't been applied to this Malphite here. So he's
Gotcha.
gonna have full magic resist. If you have Rammus, Rammus is actually gonna jump to this clump here and apply Ionic here. So like you can shred through this Malphite a lot faster. So that's a positioning thing, and like, yeah, I think Rammus, because of that, with those items specifically, is stronger. Like he's just such a good holder of those items. Um, but yeah, still need to roll here. Just because, yeah, we're definitely still looking for everything. Yeah, you have 5 ribbons at this point. Oh yeah, you don't hold Vayne there, but I think that was just an oversight.
Yeah, I missed it.
Yeah, which happens. This is another situation where I just think Go2 is stronger than the Sejuani one. Like you can just put Sejuani one on bench and play Fiddle here instead, and then you can have your items on Shotu, and your board will be stronger. And it's stuff like this that like will like save you a little bit of HP, and it's also like I feel like a thing that sort of like sets the best players apart, where like they will make the best board possible with all of the like units that they have hit. So like in this exact spot, like a much better player might be like 60 HP or something like that because they've just made a better board at every single phase of the game. Um, which I think it'll just save you a ton of HP throughout the game, just doing small stuff like playing uh, like Cho'Gath 2 here over this Sejuani. Um, but yeah, you end up building Aurelion Sol here, which like I don't know. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. He's just like he's fine. If you really need healing reduction in your team, but he doesn't even do like an insane amount of damage. Like, I think it would be a pretty rough spot where you have to end up moving misfortune items to Aurelion Sol. I guess I don't hate the idea. Um, because like if you roll to 0 here and don't hit MF2, it's probably more damage than you have to drop out of Anima Squad. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's it's fine, I
Uh,
guess.
quick question too,
Yeah.
because you mentioned roll downs at 4 or 5 and stuff. Is
Mhm.
there like um a target set amount of money for roll downs, or is it purely like you go until I know it's like depending on if you hit your roll downs or not, but
Mhm.
do you go and set a hard stop point of like, all right, 20 gold is when I call it? Like if I don't get it, like my carry's at 20 gold, then I stop rolling down because that was like kind of right here. I was thinking, all right, well, really, so if I have to play him, that means I'm playing for like, fifth instead of like sixth or something like that because it's not something that I wanted to do. And obviously, like MF is like the preferred carry at this point because what I've been building towards the whole game.
Mhm.
But when like I like looking back, I agree with what you said. Like my roll down should have been sooner and probably a little bit more like aggressive.
Mhm.
And but like I was kind of just picking up AP carries in general at that point, and which is where I ended up with like Aurelion Sol because that's what was obvious. But sorry, I went on like a tangent after
No,
I
yeah,
asked you a
yeah.
question, so
No,
I'll let
yeah.
you cut in.
I hear what you're saying. Another thing I just noticed with tiny things, you should probably hold Vi here. Vi actually in the late game ends up being stronger than I mean, not like a Sejuani 2, but you end up not hitting Sej 2 and Vi would have been a good unit to get in. But okay, that's a tiny thing. Okay, so yeah.
Mhm.
Fundamental idea of like how much do you actually roll down in a situation like this? I think the big difference is like how early you are in the game doing it. Like a roll down at like 3-2, or if you're like hyper rolling for like a 1 cost at like 3-1, you can say, okay, I'm gonna roll down until I have like 10 gold here, because if I roll to 0, my econ's just gonna be in shambles. Um, in this situation, when you're rolling at level 8, I would say it's always just roll until you have a board that is stable, until you have a board that is good enough to survive the lobby. And if that means you're rolling to 0, then you're rolling to 0. In TFT, in most metas, going 9 is like a luxury. You're not going to be able to go 9 in every single game. So at this point, Econ does not matter as much as hitting a strong board. Because if you roll to 0 here and you hit your entire board, Misfortune 2, Echo 2, I mean, best case scenario, like Fiddle 2, Sejuani 2, your board is good enough to top 4. You don't need to, like, have enough gold to go level 9 here, because you can just top 4 at that board with a high amount of HP. So yeah, like level 8 roll downs, I would always say it's just roll until you hit your board, because like um if your board's not stable, if you roll here, if you roll down to 20 gold, I mean, it's literally exactly what happens in like this last fight. We're 40 HP here, we roll down and you say, okay, 20 gold, maybe I don't really want to roll anymore. I mean, there's no reason to econ up, because you're gonna die, you know? Like if you just
Yeah.
sit here and say, okay, I'm at 20 gold, but I don't want to roll any deeper because I want to go 9, you're not gonna get to go 9 because you're gonna be dead. Like the only times in TFT when you can go 9, I mean, the majority of time, the only time you can go 9 is when your board is stable at level 8. You are beating enough of these enemy boards at level 8 so that like you're saving enough HP so that you can go 9 after enough rounds. The only other scenario is if you have infinite gold here. Like if you have like 70 gold here, you would say, okay, I'll just survive 1 or 2 rounds and then go 9. But like the huge majority of situations, the only time you can go 9 is when your board is stable at 8. So yeah, I would say level 8 roll downs, it is just roll until stable. It's roll until you hit a good board. That you can like at least fight, like at least win like half the fights here, maybe all of the fights if you're very low HP. Um, so yeah, like in this situation,
Okay,
it,
that
it
makes
has to
sense.
be roll until stable. And there's just so many big upgrades that we haven't hit here yet, right? Echo 2 is huge. Sejuani 2 is huge. Misfortune 2 is obviously huge. Like we don't have any 4 costs 2-starred, where and usually your level 8 roll down is finding these 4 costs and 2-starring them. Like those are the most important things to hit. So yeah. Um,
Gotcha. That makes sense.
okay, and something here. There is a fiddlesticks on Carousel. You can just go fiddlesticks too here, and it's quite strong. So yeah, I think maybe it's just I don't know. You're just looking at item components and not looking at units. Like, did you see the possibility of taking fiddle here for fiddle too?
I didn't actually. Yeah, that was definitely an oversight by me getting like Fiddle 2 over like just I saw the shroud and I was like that kind of makes sense
Hmm.
with regards because I already have like healing reduction and stuff and it's like on a 5 cost.
Yeah.
So I didn't worry about it too much. Question, like would you prioritize putting the Fiddle 2 in the front line with the Q cone or would you put him like back to benefit the MF
Yeah,
towards the end?
it's a little bit awkward. You could probably even just put him backline and just give the Q cone. It could depend on fights, like how much you actually need the CC early. But I mean, it is a fiddle too. So like, especially just putting him backline, giving the cone to MF. Like, I mean, especially I would say if you hit the rest of your front line, you can put him backline. Like if you hit like Echo 2, Sejuani 2, then you can definitely put him backline. If you really badly need the front line, like if you're stuck on like literally like if you roll to 0 here and this is still your board, then I would probably frontline him, just because like your front line is going to get shredded immediately, and then it's not going to matter if he's
Gotcha.
backline. Um, but yeah, like I don't know, that's something that I've struggled with before, is just sort of like being blind to like units on Carousel sometimes. And like it happens. But yeah, it would just be a nice upgrade here. But yeah, you end up hitting everything here. You end up hitting the Echo 2 and the MF2, which is very fortunate. You save the Shroud till the fight and shroud their entire board, which looks really good. And then yeah, at this point, I mean, you basically just hit your board. This is like basically all the big decisions in the game are done, and you just have to play for positioning and like maybe a last few things. Like I do think once again, I mean it depends on the fight, but versus any AP board, you can hold this Alistar and play Alistar over Sejuani. Get in Aegis plus Mascot with Nasus. There's also the Vi, which I think until you hit Sej 2 is just better Brawler, and then it also gives you Aegis versus any of the AP boards. It can just be nice to get Aegis in late game for free when you're fighting AP. You know, like you're fighting this guy who is all AP. You know, getting Aegis in for your entire board would be very helpful, even though you end up beating him anyway. But yeah, I think the only other thing, I agree with you taking Warmogs here. We need a final tank item. And the just last decision here, or wait, no, maybe it's next round? Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, next round, we level up here. You hit the Sedge, which is really nice. I would actually just level for Janna here over you end up playing second fiddle 6, I think, but you can sell this and this and play Janna too here, or Janna here, because it's Windy Janna. I think it would be quite strong. I don't know if it's enough to swing this fight because that guy's board is very strong, but I think it's a bit stronger to just play Windy Janna here. Like you actually have a lot of frontline now that you've hit Echo 2 and Sedge 2, so like another fiddle is gonna CC, it'll be good, but like you actually need more damage in this situation, so Windy Janna on MF could actually do a lot. But then, you know, end up losing this fight, which, I mean, their board is very strong, so a third seems pretty reasonable from the position that we're in. So yeah, that's all the stuff I had notes on here. Do you have any other questions about this game or like stuff that I said that brought up anything? We only have like half an hour left, so I don't think I have another time for like a full game, but we can talk about whatever. We can go through lol chess more. We can talk about like meta stuff about this patch if you want. I also have like sometimes I'll do uh I have this like PowerPoint that I put together on fundamentals of TFT. So if there's any like fundamental part of TFT that you have a question about, we could talk about that, and you can talk about that stuff for like infinite time. So yeah, whatever you want to
Yeah,
talk about for the rest of the session.
yeah, absolutely. I did have a couple questions, and I won't hold you hostage if I don't have anything else. But I really appreciate, again, like you going through and explaining everything in detail to me. Like it's amazing how many like small mistakes like I find myself like making after the fact. Even though like at this game I was like, oh, I think I played pretty well, but then you're talking about like, oh, it's playing Vayne instead of Silas at the beginning, and then Janna at the end. Like even though it probably wouldn't have like change that third. It's like those small things that could like, maybe that 1 in 10 game could change that third into a second,
Hmm.
which is big, or like a fifth into a fourth. Because that's like really what I'm just trying to do is I just want like consistent top fours.
Hmm.
Um, and I like TFT is a very unique game where like, you could just have a bad luck game where you're not playing the same game as other people where they're playing for first and you're just trying to play for like, fifth or something like that. But um to that note, we were mentioning roll downs, and that is one thing I would like to. I think I need to polish it better because it was a little bit more obvious when I was more comfortable with like AD comps and knew what I was like looking for. But I did a level 8 roll down here. Let's say like when would you feel pressure to do a level 7 roll down? And also you mentioned like a 3-2 roll down.
Hmm.
Um, when you think of like those two criteria, like I know level 7 is more like, okay, like I'm really not doing hot. I'm probably not going to be top fouring this game. I'm kind of fighting for fifth type of move.
Hmm.
Um, what would you say like for like a 3-2 roll down and like a level 7 roll down, maybe at like 4-1 or whatever, like what you think about those two situations?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so a few things. One, it's meta dependent. So there will be metas in TFT where you're gonna want to roll on 3-2 every single game. It's we haven't had one for like a decent bit of time. Um, it's usually when like a 2 cost. Let's see, what set did you play? Set 6? Um, yeah, did you play set
Um,
6?
Let me look up which one that is. It's
Yeah.
the set. 6.
Let me pull your little chest up again.
Gizmos and gadgets. I think.
I can
Let me
see on your
see.
little chest.
Yeah, I think. Wait, actually, no, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, it looks like yeah, you didn't play.
Uh,
I'm seeing here you didn't play 6 unless it was on like a different account.
no, I don't think I would have played 6 then. Yeah, this doesn't look familiar to me.
Okay. You played 5, but I actually barely played 5. Like I said, I really got in 5.5. Okay, but let's see. What's a good example then of like analogous units? This let me just pull up a team builder and look at like two costs. I guess okay. So a good example, though it never happened this set, but if it had happened, okay. So you know, like the Yumi Nyla comp, the like Star Guardian Yumi reroll with supers.
Yep.
Okay, imagine that is like the best comp in the game by far. Imagine it's just like egregiously unbalanced, and you hit that entire board 2-star, and like sometimes you can just be top 4, like in the game, just rolling at 3-2. Um, that has happened before in TFT. So in set 6, there was a comp. I believe it was 6. Yeah, around Katarina, who was a 2-cost carry. It was like Assassin, Katarina, and some other assassins, and you would just if you were playing Katarina reroll, you would roll down at 3-2 for Katarina, 3 other assassins for 4 assassin, and then a couple other synergies, and that was your board. And you would just, if you played any normal board, so like we can go back to our 3-2 here. Like you played any normal board, like your board here at 3-2, which is a completely fine board. You've got a couple of upgrades. If we, pull this board out of this game and take it back to that Katarina meta, you play against this Katarina board with Katarina 2 and like all the other assassins 2-star. They'd hop on your backline, one shot your backline, one shot your frontline, and you get 6-0'd here. Um, even though you have like a pretty strong board. So metas like that have existed in the past and will exist at some point in the future for sure, unless they like, take out 3-starring units or something. So
Mm.
that that has existed and will exist. So like knowing like when you're gonna roll out is meta dependent. And the other example I was gonna give, which it's another example in set 6, so apologies. But like I guess an analogous example here, which actually almost sort of happened. Like imagine, you don't even have to imagine that much, that like Aphelios, especially like last patch, imagine Aphelios 1 is an insanely strong unit, and if you hit a 3-item Aphelios 1, it just stabilizes your board for like the rest of the game, and you can win out on Aphelios 1, which is like, I don't know, it was almost true last patch. This unit was insane.
Yeah.
There was like a core, like a sort of opposite meta where like Katarina was completely out of the meta in set 6. Like after they nerfed her really hard. There was a 5-cost Kaisa that was in the meta, and basically everyone would just spend no gold prior to level 8. They would just go fast 8 every single game. The majority of the lobby is not spending any gold prior to 8 because they are going to level 8 and they're playing the lottery of looking for that Kaisa unit, which, in this set would be Aphelios. So just imagine no one's rolling the entire game. They go fast 8 and they look for Aphelios because Aphelios 1 is a carry that's going to stabilize your entire board. Those are like the two edges of the spectrum, basically. Fast 8 every game, spend no gold, or roll it down at 3-2 for this reroll comp that stabilizes you incredibly hard. What those two like sides of the spectrum do is that it forces everyone else to roll at sort of similar timings. So like if you're playing in the Katarina meta, if you're gonna get 6-0'd every time you fight a Katarina board, then all you can do is say, okay, I'm gonna roll a lot at 3-2 and stabilize my board enough that okay, maybe if I have Jinx 2, Yasuo 2, I can survive against Katarina. Or maybe if I hit, like Nasus 2 or Nectin 2 and Dash 2, and like I don't know, maybe instead of Ashe, I get like a Senna in, and maybe like high roll and hit Senna too, and I can play that board instead. Like maybe I can survive against the Katarina. So like knowing what kind of meta we're in affects a lot how much you want to roll at 3-2, at 4-1, at 4-5, at 5-1. So like right now, it's relatively balanced. Like there's not infinite rolling at 3-2, but you can roll at 3-2 in specific situations. Not everyone's rolling it down at 4-1, but like some people. Oh yeah, and I guess there's a third one, which is a meta that revolves around 4 costs. So like set 7, all the dragons were 4 cost, so you would see a ton of people. They would go level 7 at 4/1, and they would roll to 0. Because if you hit a 2-star dragon, that's stable enough to like get you top 4. So knowing like what the really broken units are on the comp, what the really broken comps are on the patch, and then knowing how that affects like roll down timings is very important. And you can usually tell just sort of by looking at the comps in the meta, because I always want to like I don't know, I want to tell you this stuff, but I also want to give you sort of like the tools to figure it out, like what kind of meta we are in for yourself. Like if you look at, and I often like, I guess actually it's easier to see. Like I honestly like Meta TFT's UI better, but it's like sometimes harder to navigate. But if you look at like, um, and I just do by pick rate, so I can see like a good snapshot of the meta. But yeah, like if you look at like what the most popular comps are here, so we have like a Gadgeteen comp, we have like Recon, we have like Renegade, Diego. Like there's a good amount of diversity, right? Like it's a lot of stuff that revolves around 4 costs. But there's like a 3-cost reroll comp in here. If you scroll down enough, you'll see like Yumi. Like there's a pretty diverse amount of comps that are strong. If you looked at this and saw like, okay, there was one comp here with like, you know, 2.0 pick rate or something, like multiple people are playing it every game and it still has a good average placement, then you can see like, okay, that comp is skewing the meta and I have to play accordingly. You can also just like when you watch streamers or like watch YouTube videos, just sort of like see from that like what the meta looks like, what people are saying is OP. Like you can always just sort of like watch people who are good and they will oftentimes be like, okay, this comp is super, super broken. I have to play around it. So yeah, all that to say, the first step is knowing what the meta looks like and like how much um, the comps in the meta affect like when you should roll. So like now we're actually in a pretty balanced like reroll meta here. Like rolling timing meta. Like you don't need to roll infinite at 3/2, 4/1, or 4/5. You really just roll based on what comp you're playing, and there are a lot of different comps that exist. So 3/2 roll downs right now. And this is true for like any like really balanced meta where you don't have to like roll it down all at 3/2 or all at 4/1. Um, balanced in a balanced meta, you're gonna roll at 3/2 if you have a ton of pairs that can spike your board, or if I guess you really, really need to stabilize. Like if you had 5 lost, 6 lost here, and you were like really afraid of dying, you can roll here. But the most common time to roll in this situation is if you have a ton of pairs. So like imagine instead of this being your bench, imagine your bench is Nasus, Jinx, Yasuo, and then like I don't know Riven or something like that. When you have that many pairs, you would have 4 pairs in that situation on your bench. Then it's actually pretty beneficial to roll a bit at 3/2, because those pairs are going to spike your board really, really hard. Hitting Yasuo 2, hitting Jinx 2, hitting Riven 2 is going to make your board way stronger than it is right now. So it's usually roll at 3/2 when you have a ton of pairs. You're actually in a situation here where you're on 4 streak, so like it's a little bit more reasonable to roll at 3/2 because like if you can spike your board, you will like continue your win streak and you'll get paid back for that. But the reason like in this situation I think it's fine to actually not roll at all is you don't have any pairs. Like you don't it's pretty far off to hit like a Jinx 2 here. You're gonna have to find one Jinx and then another Jinx. Like if you had Jinx pair, Yasuo pair, and like a Riven here, I think it's quite reasonable to like roll and try to find something better. Yeah. Okay, I just said a lot. So does that make sense? And then after that I can go to like rolling at 4/1 and after that.
Yeah, definitely. Quick before
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
mentioned 4/1.
Mhm.
So for let's say like a 3-cost carry is
Mhm.
like my focus. So like Jack, let's say I open and I get like a Jack's drop and I get uh like a Bloodthirster and then like an extra like a Jack's item or whatever on the side, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go brawler game or like mech Jax this game because I think there was another guy in this lobby that went that.
Mhm.
Would I feel more pressured at 3/2 to get like a 2-star Jax, or is that an exception to that rule, or does that still carry over to where like, oh, if you're doing fine, like you still want to go to 7 and then roll down, like since 3-cost carries, you want to roll at 7 for your 3-cost carry as a slow roll, or would you feel more pressure to be like, okay, I need a 2-star Jax to be stable during like stage 3 and then I can like worry about getting to 7 and then like hitting the rest of my board.
Right. And let me just pull this over here. I was just pulling up while you're talking about it. This is like this is the odds of hitting each tier at each level. So, like level 6, 30% chance of hitting 3 cost. As it goes up, 4 cost, 15% at level 7. The reason why this is important, um, the odds for hitting a 3 cost at level 6 and level 7 are not very different. It goes from 30% to 35%. It's only a 5% increase. Um, a lot of time, it's completely fine to roll a ton of gold at 6 to hit your board 2-star. The sort of like tempo, the way you play a lot of 3-cost reroll comps this set, which is like Kaisa and Jax, basically. I don't think there's another one that Nyla, but not really Nyla, because it's more like you're rolling for everything else. But yeah, like mostly Kaisa and Jax. The way you tend to play those comps is rolling aggressively at 3-2. There's no one who played Recon this game. There's someone who played Jax, but yeah, like um, normally what you do when you play those comps is you roll aggressively at 3-2 for your board 2-starred. So like if you're playing Kaisa comp, like if you wanted to play Kaisa from here, imagine like our first augment was like Raider Spoils instead of this, and like we have all these recons we want to play. You can just roll it down here, sometimes even to 0. But like I don't know, when you're spot 96 HP, you probably just roll until you hit some good units. Like Kaisa 2, maybe like a Rammus 2, and then like something else like your 4 recon or something. But yeah, you will aggressively roll at 3-2, and on this in this set, and in most sets when you're playing around 3-cost reroll, just because like it spikes you so hard. I guess it's not for every 3-cost reroll comp, but especially recon reroll and especially Jax, like the 2 3-cost reroll comps this set. Rolling at 3-2 is really beneficial because they spike really hard on level 6. So Kaisa, for example, you can spike your board really hard on 4 recon plus 2 threats. That board is really, really strong if you hit like a Kaisa 2 and like one of your threats 2-starred. Same thing with Jax. You can just play 6 Brawler on 6, and it is a very, very big spike, especially like once you hit Jax 2 and like Vi 2 and Ribbon 2 ideally. So all that to be said, yeah, like rolling at 3-2 when you're playing those comps is really, really beneficial, and a lot of the time you will. The only time I would say you shouldn't like reroll very much at 3-2 is if like maybe you're win streaking already. Like if your board is already strong enough, maybe you've like somehow natural to Kaisa 2 during stage 2 or something, which is pretty high roll, but it does happen. Then like you don't really have to roll um, as much because you've already hit your strong board. And then like you said, in an ideal world, you're rolling at 7. Like I'm talking about, 35% versus 30%, it's really a very small difference. So like if you end up in a situation where you roll down all your gold at level 6, like I've done this very, very many times when I play Kaisa. Like I don't know, maybe I can find a replay of me playing Kaisa. Oh wait, I definitely can. Let me go find one. But like if you end up in a situation where you roll down all of your gold at 3-2 trying to find Kaisa, and because you're just like really, really poor, it's fine. Because you've hit your entire board. So yeah, let me find what I'm talking about because I'm curious actually. In a recent game I played, here, let me pull this out. Okay, so this is a recent game I played on Kaisa. It's you're getting a sneak peek at a YouTube video that's not out yet. Um,
Oh
but
hell yeah!
but yeah, I lost streaked the entire stage 2. I full lost streaked here. I took preparation. I prepped I prepped like all of my recons. I hit like really early recons and early prep. So I prepped these guys really early. And so this is my 3-1. I lose this fight. See Augment here. Oh yeah. My fucking face.
Dude, I think is that a bug with Gadgeteen Crest? Because I've like not had any Gadgeteen footprint, and then it's just like, oh, you want a crest? I'm just like, heck
Yeah.
no, I don't want a crest.
I've heard people say
Like,
that there's weird stuff with Gadgeteen tailoring. Like I've heard people say Tome of Traits sometimes will give you Gadgeteen um, without having Gadgeteen in. Yeah, I think it is a bug actually. But yeah, you'll see like I go 6 here and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna roll until I hit. I mean, like immediately hit Kaisa too, but you see like I am very low gold and I'm still rolling here to try to hit my board. Um, I managed to hit like Kaisa 2 and like a pretty strong board with the TG here, and like, okay, this is probably good enough. But you see here, I am 10 gold, but it's fine because I've hit Kaisa 2, I've hit Ezreal 2, I have Vayne Pair, The only really sad thing is I don't have like 2-star Frontline, but it's completely fine to roll down this deep here at 3-2 when you're playing this comp because now I've hit Kaisa 2 and I can play around Kaisa 2 for the rest of the game. If I skip really far up, you see I end up going on like an insane win streak here with literally just Kaisa 2. And like I eventually, I hit, some more Frontline stuff, but I'm just completely chilling on this Kaisa 2 because I hit it early. So yeah, like that's how you that's generally how you play like a 3-cost reroll comp, is that you will roll aggressively at 3-2. That answer your question?
Gotcha. Yep, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and so I was saying that, and then the next question is 4-1 roll downs.
Mhm.
Um, and so 4-1 roll downs, it's interesting. Like I was saying, it's part of it is like elo dependent. Like I in your spot, I mean, maybe hitting the MF makes me feel a little bit better, but I think like if I'm in your spot here and I'm in like a challenger lobby, I want to roll down a bit more and hit like a better board here. Um, so I mean, you hit like the tome, maybe you can get away with greeting it, but like you like get away with greeting it completely fine. Like you're 84 here, you end up winning this fight, and then losing this fight. Like you're 70 HP here. Like I'm pretty sure if you're in a challenger lobby here, you're like 50 HP, maybe lower,
Gotcha.
just because people are playing much much stronger boards. So like that part of it is like the lower elo you go, like if you go into a bronze lobby, you can just like not roll until 8 probably, and you'll be completely fine like every single game, just because people are playing just the worst boards you've ever seen. So like in at your elo right now, when you're not getting punished for like not rolling at 7, just greed on. It's actually like the wrong move to play more aggressive than your elo. Because like if you roll a ton here and cap your board out like artificially lower because you've rolled all your gold at 7, then you're actually gonna end up going. You're gonna get worse average placements. Like if you rolled all your gold to 0 here to try to hit some strong board here, but then you're stuck having rolled all your gold on 7, everyone else reads till 8, like their boards will cap out a lot higher, and then you just won't be strong enough to win fights later. So you should play like a level of greediness sort of equal to like your elo. So like it's fine for you now,
Okay.
I would say, like to just chill on this board, like you don't get punished at all, so it's completely fine. But I do think like as you climb more, if you hit like master tier, like grandmaster, like keep going up, like situations like this, you'll probably want to be rolling more. But I would say don't do that until you actually get to that point, because it is actually like suboptimal to roll too much for your elo. You just want to, like I always say, you want to roll enough to be stable. I guess that's the easiest way to explain it. You want to roll enough that your board is stable, which means you're winning some amount of the fights. Like you're not getting like 10 0'd every single fight. The big thing is like, are you killing units? Is actually what people talk about a lot. Like, are you killing units in these fights? Because if you're just getting like 7 0'd every fight, you're gonna take a ton of damage. But like, look, you kill a ton of units here, I mean, you end up winning this fight. Uh, we can even go and look at like the last fight that you end up losing this fight. Like how many units do you actually kill here? Because this person's level 8 because they're win streaking so hard. But like we're gonna kill the Alistar here. We get through the rest of the front line. We kill 2 here. Maybe like this ends up actually being like a pretty bad loss, but it's also like something you have to be careful of. Is like this is the strongest person in the lobby by far. They went fast level 8, and hit like a relatively strong board. So you also have to be like, when stuff like this happens and you take a bad loss, you can't always be like, okay, I took a bad loss, so I have to roll down to 0 now, because like um, sometimes you just fight the strongest person and the loss is actually kind of like a fake loss, some people will say. Um, but yeah, like it's very similar actually to level 8 reroll or roll down, where like at 7, you just want to roll until your board's stable. And so in at your Lilo in this lobby, your board's stable because like you win 2 out of 3 fights. You only end up taking 14 damage across 3 fights, which is completely fine, and then you can roll at 8. Um, but like if you climb more and you end up in a situation where like you're taking a ton of damage in these 3 fights, you can take that as a sign to say, okay, I probably need to roll more at 4-1. So that like my board is more stable. The other fortunate thing this game is that you hit MF. But if you didn't have MF, you probably would have to roll here so you could have like a real carry. Like if you're stuck on
Yeah.
Jinx 1 as your carry still, you would take way more damage. So hitting MF also sort of like enabled you to not roll here. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's to your point earlier also where you kind of have to understand the strength of the other players in your lobby.
Hmm.
And so like you mentioned like, Challenger Elos, obviously like they're more in tune with what is like what's currently the strongest. And so like if I were to I need to like scout more, I think was my takeaway from that, and just like look at the other people and just be like, oh, like I feel better at judging my board strength against yours versus like, oh, I feel like I'm maybe in trouble now. I should probably roll down.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's a really really good thing to do, and it's a really really good muscle to stretch in TFT is judging fights, and it's really hard. Like there are very very high challenger players who will look at a fight and say, "Oh, I get shit on this fight," and then they end up winning the fight. And it's also like it's impossible to do perfectly, and that's why like challenger players aren't perfect at it because like there's fight RNG in TFT. If one unit like walks one hex to the left, if you have like a Sejuani that moves somewhere versus going somewhere else, or like a unit that targets one unit instead of another unit, it can like drastically change fights. But like yeah, just judging fights, just the ability to look at a fight and say, do I win this fight? How hard do I win this fight? Like the best thing that you can do is say like, okay, how's this fight gonna go? Like, am I gonna win this fight? Am I gonna lose this fight? How close is it gonna be? Like literally just looking at this fight right here. Like, do you think you're winning this fight? Do you think you're losing this fight? Like they have the same Nasus augment as you. They have double trouble, and they have this Silas 3 with like no items. They have this Talon 3 as well, and then this Vayne backing it up. Like, do we win this fight? Do we lose this fight? I think, yeah. I mean, I'm going with the benefit of hindsight, but I think it's pretty reasonable to say that you win this fight. I mean, the only synergy they have in also looking at that is 3 Anima Squad. So like synergistically, their board just doesn't have much going for it. All of their 3-star units have like no items on them. All their items are stuck on this Vayne, and she has pretty mediocre items because she's trying to transition them to Misfortune later. So I think it's pretty reasonable to say, okay, we win this fight, and we probably win it by a few units because like Vayne can probably like snipe down our Renekton pretty quickly, and like maybe a few other frontliners. But like even actually with the healing, maybe you can make the argument that you just barely, like do they kill? Yeah, she kills a couple here, so it ends up being like a 5 or something. But like stretching that muscle of looking at every single fight and saying like the best thing you can do is scout your 3 opponents and say, okay, do I win these fights? Oh, that's something else that's really important. That I think we didn't cover that much this game. But like in a situation, like especially here, um, it's more like in a situation where you can actually make the decision to level early. So like I guess the most reasonable spot to do it would be like here. But like you don't have much to level for. But like if you're ever in a situation like this, like at 3-1 and you're on a win streak and you want to like you can think about leveling to 6 here, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like you could level to 6 here and put in a Kaisa. It's gonna tax your econ really hard, but it's gonna make your board stronger for this one round. The question is like, should I level to 6 here? What you can do is you can scout your 3 opponents, evaluate every single fight, and say, like, okay, am I going to win this fight? Am I going to lose this fight? Um, if I am going to win this fight, then it's fine. I don't need to make my board any stronger. I'll keep my streak. If I'm going to lose this fight, do I think adding a Kaisa here, getting Recon in, and another unit, do I think that is going to swing this fight? I don't know if we got everyone. I went back. Yeah, I think we just had to figure out like admin and all this stuff. But yeah, like you scout every fight and say like, okay, like we end up fighting this guy. We scout this guy and say, okay, I'm winning this fight every single time. I don't need to do anything to beat this guy. If everyone else is as weak as this guy, then you have no reason to level because you're basically just wasting gold to get stronger, but you don't need to get any stronger. But the guy like we end up losing to, who is this guy, we end up say like yeah, it's this guy. You end up scouting this. Like, if you end up scouting this person and saying like, okay, I think I am going to lose this fight. You could even do it here. It's very aggressive, but you could say, okay, I think I'm going to lose this fight with my current board. Is leveling and adding like a Lee Sin for brawler, is that going to spike me enough to win this fight? Because if it does, even though you're leveling like off tempo, like off interval, it can still be good. Just because like the econ value of winning this fight is 1 gold for winning the fight, and then it's 3 gold for keeping your streak. So you actually you make 4 gold for winning this fight, and if you keep your econ here, you're gonna make 4 gold. So like it's actually like you're actually going to end up making more because it's only going to cost you 3 gold in interest. So you can basically like, if adding a Lee Sin is going to win you this fight, you spend 3 gold in interest to make 4 gold in continuing your streak and winning the fight. And then it also gives you more gold because if you win the next fight, that's another 3 gold. So then winning here was worth like 7 gold, and then if you win here, it's worth 10 gold, and then it's actually worth 13 gold because you have to keep your streak on wolves. So that's another thing as well, is like being able to judge what fights you win and what fights you lose is incredibly helpful because um, it can tell you like when in situations like this you should level. Like it's a really risky play to level here because if you level and lose, that you've basically wasted 3 gold for nothing and you've made your econ a lot worse. But if you level here and win, it's amazing. And this ends up being a relatively close fight. So maybe you can say if you bought Lee Sin leveled here. Also, it's sort of a positioning thing. Having all your units the same side as Sejuani is really rough. Like Sejuani, unless she gets like one shot here, she gets like a very good ult off here, right? Yeah, she hits your entire
Yeah.
board. If your carries are on the right side here, and then like you're a bit more spread out, also having like another Lee Sin in maybe, and with like the Protector's Vow Slam, like maybe you can win this fight. So yeah, there's a little bit of a tangent, but hopefully that makes sense. And
Yeah, that does, absolutely. Thank you.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so we only have a few minutes left. Do you have any like last few questions?
No, just the last question is, you mentioned that you like to watch like Chinese tournaments in order to like kind of understand the meta better and like to get better and stuff. And like I'm sure like a lot on your stream because I watch your YouTube videos a lot that kind of as like an informational source.
Mhm.
Um, that's like another one. But do you have any other like sources that you think are good that would be like good for me to kind of take a look at just to get an idea of like, oh, this is how I should play. This is how I should get an idea of like what the meta is currently like.
Yeah. Let's see. I usually just create sort of like a like the my understanding of the meta and like what comps are strong is usually, I mean, sometimes I'll do like tier list videos, which like I've been slacking recently and haven't done like a comps tier list for this patch yet. But like I'll usually try to do a tier list video on like what comps are actually strong. As far as like what like players you should watch. I mean, you said you don't really like watching like Twitch streams that much, right? You like usually just watch YouTube videos.
Depending on who's on, because I'm over in Asia right now, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
I'm kind of on at an awkward time.
Yeah,
But
definitely. I
yeah, I
mean,
mean, I'll definitely go back and watch previous streams though, if
mhm,
they're worth watching.
yeah. I mean, you can always just watch VODs of streams. I will link you to, because yeah, do you watch any like TFT streamers right now?
I just started this past week, so I was trying to get a better idea. I just watched a little bit of Dish Soap,
Hmm.
and then I watched a little bit of who's the guy who doesn't sit all the way up in his chair? Fuck.
Sochu?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I watched a little bit of those two this week.
Yeah. Dish Soap. I mean, yeah, Soju's very fun to watch. Sometimes he does some weird stuff on stream, but he's a very, very good player. I think Dish Soap's like one of, if not just the best player in North America. So I think he's definitely good to watch. You can watch Setsuko as well, who I don't know if you've seen. I'll link you his stream. He's actually streaming right now, but he's another like really good player. Setsuko and Dish Soap are two insanely like good players, but they also complain a lot. So sometimes I just have to watch them muted because I cannot take the amount of bitching that these guys do. Um,
Yeah.
Someone else who is really good that I think you should watch, who I've talked to a decent bit about the game. He is very good, and he's up and coming. Like he hasn't been playing the game for very long, but he's like almost like already as good as some of these top players, which is insane. Is this guy named Yogurt? He's also, I mean, his stream's been actually like blowing up a little bit recently, but like he's still like usually like max like 200 to 300 viewers, and he reads chat a decent bit. So like if you are ever in a situation where you're on and he's live, you can hop into a stream and like ask him questions. And he's like he is. I feel like the opposite of like Setsuko and Dish Soap. Like he's really good, but he's also like a really like nice guy. Like he's very chill. And the other resource that I think would be helpful for you, uh, with especially if you want to watch YouTube content, with regard to Yogurt, um, is Yogurt has VODs of his coaching on YouTube. Check out this YouTube channel. He posts like a lot of VODs of him coaching other people. on YouTube. Oh yeah, he's uploaded a ton recently. At least most recent one is with like a challenger 1KLP player. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here. But yeah, just like watching these sessions, I think is really really helpful because it'll give you an understanding of how he like approaches playing the game and like how he coaches other players. Like that's a nice thing, you know. Like if you don't want to spend more on a bunch of other coaching sessions, you can just literally like watch these coaching sessions, and it's you know like free, but you get his take on the game and him like coaching other people who like looks like most of the people he's coached are like he's coached mostly like master people, a few diamond players as well, so you can get an understanding of like people around your elo or a little bit higher. But like I would say like watching all these videos would definitely like I don't know. He's got a really good mind for the game and he explains it very well. Like I think that will help you level up a lot. Oh, and if you want to watch Chinese streamers, I just actually put together a Google Doc because the there was a website that had a bunch of Chinese streamers on it, but the person who hosted the website forgot to pay to renew the domain, so the website went down. Um,
Oh no.
but I just made this Google Doc of all the oh wait, maybe I have to make it shareable with just the link probably. Only people with access can open the link. Oh yeah, okay, make it anyone with the link. Okay, anyone the link can view. Okay, but yeah, this is my Google Doc of just a bunch of Chinese TFT streamers who I just think are good and I have watched in the past. I have like a little note next to all of them, but I really like it's kind of in order of people who I like to watch. I really like Shunga, who's the first person on the list. Like he won last year's world championships at 7 worlds. The person right after him, Juan Mei, is I literally in his note I just have goat because he's been to 3 world championships. 2 of them he's been in the top 8. He's just insane. So watching Chunga or Juan Mei I think would be really good. But like any of these players are very good. The one thing you have to be careful of is sometimes like the Chinese meta can be different from the North American meta. Like China will often play way more aggressive than NA, which is like if you just play the same way some of these Chinese players play in your own games, with regards to like you know like a few patches ago, sometimes they would just roll down all their gold at 3-2, even if they weren't playing a reroll comp just to stabilize. Like that's probably not correct in your games, but a lot of the
Yeah.
insights as far as like what comps they play, what items they slam, that kind of stuff is definitely gonna be helpful.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I won't steal any more extra minutes of your time. But yeah, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time to look at my game and